Hey, mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. If anybody's in the chat, please let me know how I sound so that we can get ready to get started. All right, we're going to wait for a couple more people to jump in the chat. Again, if you hear a weird echo in the background, I can't hear it myself, so if you do hear it, let me know. Or if I'm not clear, if the music's too loud. I'm paying attention to the chat tonight. I really want to try to give you guys better shows, so your feedback is very important, and I appreciate it. Again, we'll get started in about 2 minutes. All right, guys, keep in mind the phone lines will be open later as well. So if you want to call in tonight, if you have any questions, or if you're Team Monique or you're not, you'll have a chance to call in tonight too. So just give us about another 45 seconds and we'll get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Jones, and this week Monique has been in the spotlight again. after a few months. Her interview with Comedy Hype and ReelBlack went viral for her continued rants against the likes of Steve Harvey, Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Charlemagne the God, among others, for perpetuating her so-called blackballed status in Hollywood. To be fair, I first want to list Monique's most impressive accolades over her 2-decade career. I also want to, you know, open up the debate to both sides. I do realize debates can get a little messy, get a little heated, but I do think that we can all discuss this as adults. And don't be surprised if Monique doesn't actually call in, or Sydney, or somebody that represents these people. So, again, my opinions are pretty salty on this. So, like I say, this isn't going to be one of my old laid back shows. This is going to be a little different tempo tonight. And again, I want to welcome everybody here. All right, now, according to her Las Vegas residency, she has a small bio up on her website representing her live shows. So her bio reads, Academy Award-winning actress and comedian Monique has been entertaining audiences for nearly 20 years. Beginning in 1999 with a starring role in the UPN hit television series The Parkers, Monique quickly garnered critical acclaim and accolades, including 4 NAACP Image Awards for Outstanding Actress in a Comedy Series. She performed in the hit stand-up comedy film The Queens of Comedy, earning a Grammy nomination for Best Spoken Word Comedy Album. In 2003, she released the New York Times best-selling memoir Skinny Women Are Evil before going on to host her own BET late-night talk show, The Monique Show. In film, Monique notably starred in Precious, for which she won an Academy Award, and the HBO biopic Bessie, which received rave reviews and a Primetime Emmy nomination. All right, and to go a little bit deeper into her accolades, again, she has won several NAACP Image Awards for The Parkers, a movie called Good Fences, and the movie Almost Christmas. Granted, the research I did didn't really show a lot of accolades and awards before 2009 and before Precious, even though I knew her back then from Def Comedy Jam and her stand-up comedy, which back then was very funny. All right, so let's check out the chat and see who's here. All right, let's see who's in the house this evening. And if you haven't already chatted, please let me know who's here so I can give you a shout out this evening. All right, Ian Lee, welcome to the channel. If you're not sure what this is about, tonight we're going to be discussing Essie. Almost said something wrong. We're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about Monique tonight. Not Essie. Sorry about that. Welcome to The Truth, Britt Brat, Ian Lee. Ruled by Venus, welcome to the channel. We met on another channel the other day, and I will be calling the party line again. Just been a little bit busy. Jacque Bowie, welcome to the chat. Riverbend Out, Private Iris, The Truth. Lady T, welcome to Lady T, my newest moderator. Stevie J Reviews, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my Aussie friend. He gives awesome movie reviews, and his channel is very entertaining, and I feel like he should get the support he deserves. So if you ever get a chance, do subscribe to Stevie J. Also, shout out to Private Iris's YouTube channel, as well as Riverbend Out. There's a certain pop culture icon, or wannabe pop culture icon, that they cover on their channel by the name of Essie Berry. So If you ever get a chance, please subscribe to Private Iris, the Truth Riverbend Out. Most of my moderators are YouTubers, so if there's anybody here that has a channel that you'd like to promote, please let me know, and I'd be more than happy to put you out there. All right, so to continue tonight's discussion, what I want to start with is, my style. I like for the person to speak in their own words. So what I'll do first is I'm going to pull up the video from that she did with, the audio from the video that Monique did with ReelBlack and with, let me see, who was it? I want to make sure, oh yeah, Comedy Hype. So if you ever get a chance, check out the Comedy Hype videos. There's 4 or 5 of them that she goes into detail from the ReelBlack interview. That's about an hour long, where her and the moderator over there sat down and talked about Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, and the other people who she feels like are holding her back. So to start the debate tonight, let's talk about your thoughts on Monique right now before I go into any of the audio, any of the recent news. How do you feel about her protest of Netflix? How do you feel about her support of black women, or lack thereof? Do you think her relationship with Sydney's a bit strange? Do you think she's obsessed with Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry? Or do you think she should finally start to let it go? These are questions that are going to come up tonight. So just to get the juices flowing, I want to give everybody a chance to know what some of the topics are that are going to be discussed tonight. And I'm looking forward to hearing your opinion on whether you support her, whether you think she needs to change her flow, whatever. So we're going to start with her rant of Oprah Winfrey. I guess she felt like it wasn't fair that Oprah interviewed her family members without her okay, and a lot of personal details about her family came out. So I can understand why she'd be a little bit sour, but again, I'll let you make your own opinion, and here's the audio now.
If Oprah was watching this, what would you tell her?
I would say, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you need to do, and stop hiding behind what you call was negative comments, what you call, oh, I don't even deal with things like that, because what people are beginning to do is see you for who you are. Where Oprah Winfrey and I have a problem is Oprah Winfrey called us up and she said my brother wanted to come on the show and talk about him molesting me, and he wanted to tell other parents how to look out for molesters. My brother Gerald is a charmer. So my mind thought was, because she said, do you want to come on? I said, I don't want nothing to do with that cat. I said, nigga, I know it's up to a scam, but people can change. And who am I to say he hasn't changed? It might really be different. So I don't want to get in the way of that. I just don't want nothing to do with it. She said, if you don't want me to have your brother on the show, I will cancel the show. No show will happen. But I wanted to call you up to see how you felt first. When I hung up that phone, brother, I looked at my husband and I said, that bitch is all right with me. That's a real...
She kept it
because she didn't have to call me up. She didn't have to say my brother was coming. She could have just ran with the shit and let it happen. I dig her for that. Now I begin to see commercials with my brother, my mother, my father, and my other brother. Now, the reason why that means so much is because in the conversation we had about my brother, we then went deeper. And we began to talk about our relationships with our mothers and our fathers. And I shared my relationship with her about my mother. as she shared hers with me, which I will never repeat because she shared it with me about her mother and father. It might be something she shared with everybody, but wanted to make me feel special. I don't know. Nonetheless, it was in our moment. I shared with her that me and my mother was not talking. I shared with her we were in a really bad place. I shared with her I was hurt and, trying to figure this thing out. She never said my mother was coming on that show, because had Oprah Winfrey said, I'm gonna have your mother, I would have said, shut it down. I don't need the world seeing how greedy my mother is. Shut that down. That's one of the reasons why we don't communicate, because of my mother and father's greed. So if you had given me the opportunity, I would have said, I can't put that's still my mother.
Right.
Okay? Now here comes this show. And here comes the commercials. And now I'm starting to see my mother and my father and my other brother, who was my manager. We didn't discuss that, Oprah.
Wait, he was your manager and he went to Oprah?
Wasn't my manager at the time.
Okay.
By now I had already, fired him.
Gotcha.
So I'm watching this show, and I'm watching my father sit there, who was a strong alcoholic. I'm watching him drunk. I'm watching my mother be greedy. I'm watching my other brother, who was my manager, be greedy. I know my family. And I'm watching my brother, who molested me, sit on this stage trying to paint this picture of I'm trying to be a help, but now I'm watching the scam. As much as they keep talking, I'm seeing the scam take place. Well, when it was all said and done, Oprah Winfrey calls me. And in that moment, I was still stuck in, this is Oprah Winfrey. How do I say, you had my mother, my father, my other brother, and I'm stuck in that moment. And when we hung up that phone, my husband looked at me and said, what's wrong with you? That's not what we made of. You know how you felt about that and how you feel about that. And you need to let that woman know, I don't care about a title and a position. That's not what you cut from. So it was my obligation to let Oprah Winfrey know how I really felt. Now I want you to understand something too. See, this is why me and Oprah Winfrey got a problem.
It's still there.
Until that woman says, let me apologize to you publicly, it'll be to the day I leave this earth. Because what you did was malicious, and it was intentional, and it was ugly.
If Oprah was watching this, what would you tell her?
I would say, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you need to do, and stop hiding behind what you call was negative comments, what you call, oh, I don't even deal with things like that, because what people are beginning to do is see you for who you are.
Let them know what you said, which is the reason why there's a problem, because she did actually confront.
Alfred Woodard had a Oscar party for the previous black woman that won Oscars and for the black woman that was nominated, and it was Lupita's turn that year. And she had had him all the other years, and I had declined. Just my schedule wouldn't let me do it, or, for whatever reason. I was like, no, thank you. But this year I said, okay. And Oprah Winfrey was going to be there. Now, keep in mind, I was trying to reach out to have this private conversation. No return calls, whatever number she did give, no longer work, just, however it went, I could not get to Oprah Winfrey. So I see her this night, and Alfred Woodard says to me, we want you to understand, Monique, when we go into the red room, you can say whatever's on your heart. Almost like there was a universal energy where this sister knew something needed to be said. I can't say it factually, but she said it to me a few times. Whatever you need to say, this is the place to say it. Whatever you need to say, this is the place to say it. So they were going around the room getting people's feelings on how they felt about when they got this Oscar. And it got to be my turn. And I really wasn't impressed with the Oscar. So I really didn't have anything to say to Lupita other than, baby, play it your way. This is your turn. So do it the way you want to do it. So you don't look back and say, I wish I would have. No one else can tell you how to do it, but you can do it your way, because it's your name that will be called. You're the nominee. And then I looked to Oprah Winfrey, and I said, you and I need to have this conversation. why would you have my mother on your show?
This is from...
In front of everyone.
All right. To prevent any copyright strikes on the channel and to give credit where credit is due, shout out to Comedy Hype News and to ReelBlack. If you haven't already, please subscribe to those channels. And after the live chat is over, please check out the videos to their entirety on their channels. Okay. Again, I don't want to take credit for all his hard work. They worked hard to book her and to make that interview happen. And again, I don't want to take full credit for that. All right, now checking in with the chat. Constance Reed says, wow, if this happened to you and you were feeling how she felt, come on now, what would you do? I hear you, sister. I'll give my opinion in just a second, but I do want to welcome you to the channel and let you know that you are free to express yourself. I see that there's 27 people in the chat right now. If anybody has anything to say, jump in. This isn't the kind of channel where you're going to get your head bit off or cursed out for stating your opinion. So feel free to chime in at any time. All right, Kat Sterling, welcome to the channel, says, if these were her friends, yikes, I'm just saying. The truth says Hollywood is a job. It's always about money. Kat Sterling says, when's Oprah interviewing her friend Harvey Weinstein? Anyone knowing that's airing? Interesting, interesting. All right, so far, what are your thoughts? Ian Lee says that Oprah is evil. Now, one thing that I may repeat throughout the throughout this chat is a theme of, first off, if they didn't make you, they can't really break you. Just standing on her accolades alone, in that room that she mentioned with all those other Oscar winners and nominees and stuff, it could have been that she said something that was so off-putting during that time that that was the beginning of the end, because she always wants to blame someone, name drop someone as part of her situation. I always hear this blame being placed on other people, but let's take a second and look at Oprah. I haven't trusted Oprah since the 80s. It always seems like she has this agenda where she's willing to align with white people, Jews, etc., say the right things, do the right things, just come across as Miss Perfect. But rarely do you ever hear her doing anything for the black community. She'll go all the way to Africa to build a school for girls and girls only. And I think at one time she even said that God was a woman. And white women creamed their pants when she said that. So as far as my trust level for Oprah, now if it's not clear from my tone, I'm not really Team Monique. But again, we're going to get into that later. Now, I also want to ask you guys, did she say anything new? For anybody that's kept up over the past 3 or 4 years that knows Monique's situation, did anything and that interview come to light for you? All right. Dope Action. Welcome to the channel. Glad to have you here. Always nice to see a new face. All right. Cat Sterling says, the truth so true. It's a job. Hollywood is a job. Dope Action says, damn, Monique, you blacklisted permanently. Truth said an Oscar can ruin you. Dope Action says she kind of ruined the Oscar. Interesting. Truth says in Hollywood your fire burns, but so long. If you don't keep it lit, it will burn out. Private Iris says, yep, ask Hallie. Funny. Riverbend says, wow, I don't know how I am feeling about this. Stevie J says, how are you so cool, Slide? First of all, I don't have any skin in the game. But there's a lot that Monique says that I, as a black man, would normally find positive and empowering. But there's something about her personal shtick and this acts that she's grinded for the past few years, ever since the Oscar even, that for me, it's starting to become repetitive and a little aggravating. So just like Iris and Riverbend, you know, it's hard to know how to feel about this, especially with the conversation around ADOS and reparations. Seeing somebody as untalented as Amy Schumer, never laughed at one of her jokes, not one time. But she was offered more money than an Academy Award winning black female actress. So, even though I may not be Team Monique on the side of this debate, I do want you to know that fair is fair. And I'm not mad at her for her opinion of Oprah, for using her family the way that she did. But at some point, you got to have forgiveness. There's got to be water under the bridge at some point. You can't just keep grinding this axe, because you know what happens? It becomes weak. It's just like the kid who said the sky was falling. How many times can you say it where people say, like, you know what? I'm tired of hearing it. Truth says if you get labeled hard to work with, you're seen as that. And Dope Action agrees. Cat Sterling says, I feel Monique is doing what she feels she needs to do at this point. She's playing by her rules, it seems. All right. Riverbend responding to Private Iris says, I know, right, like Monique, but my mind says really right after Eddie Murphy's $70 million Netflix deal. I'm glad you brought that up, Riverbend. We're going to talk about that too. It's coming up because she hasn't pocket watched Eddie yet. If I remember correctly, she has mentioned Amy Schumer, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Wanda Sykes. She mentioned Whoopi's salary, which we will talk about in a minute. She's talked about Steve Harvey's money. So she's pocket watched all her peers. That's not cool. But again, I like for people to speak for themselves, and she has no problem doing that. So we know she has some strong feelings about Steve Harvey. We also know another obsessed wannabe celebrity that has an obsession with Steve Harvey. So if I haven't already, shout out to the regulators in the house. That would be Spook, Truth, Riverbend, Private Iris. Most of my, moderators are in a cool group of bloggers called the Regulators. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to their channels and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I want to welcome the Regulator family for coming by. I love or hate you, keep me motivated. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm glad to have you here too. Mr. Rock Music. Like I say, I love to see new faces, and you will get shouted out. What are expected from these celebrities, honestly? When I in my wrap up, I'm going to talk about that because I'm going to just throw this question out there. If Monique knew the Illuminati wasn't shit, the liars, the drug addicts, the drunks, the child molesters, why would she try so fucking hard to get back in that circle of people when she knows they're all dirty anyway? She has her Vegas residency. I'm pretty sure that with her $15 million net worth, that if she continues to put in the work, she won't have to blame Lee Daniel and Tyler Perry and Charlemagne and all these people for her demise. But what do you think? This chat is yours just as much as it is mine. I respect everybody's opinion. HTHTV3. Long time no see. Quick story, me and HT met at a channel by the name of Properly Bonafide, operated by a blogger by the name of Chelsea. So shout out to Chelsea and her channel, and welcome back, HT. Ian Lee says, you can only blame others for so long before you look in the mirror. That's one of those recurring themes again with me, is that at what point do you take responsibility for what's happened? Can't keep blaming everybody forever. I have had bad experiences at previous jobs that paid very well, and I walked away even though I had something else lined up. I made it gangster when I walked out. Anybody that knows me personally knows the situation. I would never harbor it in my heart to keep blame and be pissed off at those people from 7 or 8 years ago. Well, this person got me rolled up. Well, this person snitched on me. Well, this person deleted my files off the computer so I couldn't do my job. I got over it. I was pissed. I was ready to fight. But there comes a time that you got to say, you know what, fuck it. Life goes on. I got to keep moving. And I feel like if Monique did that, shot a special, got some of the hottest female comedians right now around her. I mean, there's nobody else doing that right now anyway. There's little tours, but there's no more queens of comedy. Maybe it's time. All right, going back to the chat. I feel like our celebrities don't want to contribute to their culture. That was Mr. Rock Music. HT says, I think she loves the art, her craft, but she wants to be able to do it minus all the reported sick crap that they import with it. And they being in parentheses. So we know who they are. The Truth says, look at Tyler Perry and Lee Daniel, directors. What does that say for Monique? HT says that may be very true. I'm sorry, that's Private Iris. And I read the chat out loud for the people that are on the road that aren't able to look down at the chat. Just in case you're wondering why I'm echoing everything in the chat. But if you do have a direct message for someone else and you put their name in the front, I may not be as apt to read that out loud because that's between you and that person. Okay? So HT says, if it's a contract by law, a contract is only legal with 2 signatures and a promise. So all involved are to blame for any violation in this content. Okay? Miss Rock Music says, our people want to be disconnected from us as a culture. 2 more signatures on a contract and the promises to make it legally binding. Well, looks like Mo is ready to do more than that. To me, it looks like she's willing to sell her soul again for that taste of fame and money and notoriety that she had before. Even though she should be living comfortably in Atlanta, in spite of her $500,000 tax bill from last year that was exposed by Vlad TV. I haven't seen any updates on that, so I'm praying that she came out from under that. Honestly, I'd hate to see her go down just like, oh God, who can't we name? Wesley Snipes, Ron Isley, what's the girl from the Fugees? Name's on the tip of my tongue. Lauryn Hill. All these people got in trouble with the tax man. And Red Fox. That's true, Lady T. So, I don't want to see another black celebrity go down to the tax man. Mr. Rock Music says the money is more important than black unification. The Truth says Hollywood is all about contracts. Everything's about appearance. If you're yesterday's news, you need to get out in the streets and grind. Casey Jones, welcome to the chat. Like I say again, we always like to see a new face. And I will open up the phone lines later, so anybody that wants to call in and comment or debate, catch me near the end of the show. And I do have some more content I want to cover from the interviews with Comedy Hype News. Again, please shout out, subscribe, like Comedy Hype News if you haven't already. And thank them again for this awesome interview. And they're really good content. These are some solid brothers, so please support them. I'm going to play the portion of the interview that covers Steve Harvey next. So hang on, and I'll get that started for you.
And let me say this, and I'll try to say this with love, but I say it because it's how I feel. I've never met so many cowards and our black men in show business. I've never met so many black men that have no goddamn backbone. And what happens in our community, they've got us chasing the bag and not principle and not integrity. Because when all of that start hitting and all that start going on, I heard my brother with my own ears say, she's burned too many bridges, and I don't know if there's anything I can do for her. And that hurt my feelings, because I'm like, brother, you never pick up the phone and say, hey, Mo, what's going on? Before you went on the air and you said to millions of listeners, she's burned too many bridges. You were a part of pushing that agenda before you even asked me what was going on. So when I got on the show, I knew I needed to have that conversation, because you wasn't returning my calls. You wasn't returning my text. See, I gave you the opportunity to have a private, when people say, why didn't you talk to him privately? I gave him the opportunity to do that. My texts and my calls went unanswered and unreturned. And someone would say, well, why wouldn't you return it? If you put out there that we have this relationship and this friendship, but when it came about, oh, you're going against the powers that be, and I want the powers to be that, no, I'm not on that side. So I'm going to say what it's going to take for them to know I'm with the machine. I'm not about equality. I'm not about what's right and what's fair. So when I went on the Steve Harvey show, I knew the conversation I was going to have with my brother. I didn't know the conversation he was going to have back with me.
He said something. He was on D.L. Hughley's new show.
Yes.
Did you guys kind of see the conversation?
Yes.
He mentioned that he edited the interview to protect you.
Yes.
What didn't we see in that interview?
Tell them what they didn't see.
Well, let me say this. When I watched Steve on the D.L. Hughley show make that comment, And see, I'm trying to learn how to not take things personally, okay? That's the Sagittarian in me, because we fight and we be like, who that nigga talking to? But I'm trying. And when I saw him say, I had to edit things out to protect Monique. Well, I said, air the whole interview, because there's nothing I said that needed protection. But what you said was, yeah, I'm pissed that these white boys gonna do me like that. And them white boys was supposed to call me, and them white boys and them white boys. Well, all of that got edited out. Why didn't you air that? Because there's nothing. And when he said, I would have appreciated had them white boys called me up and told me what was going on. I said, oh, like I would have appreciated had you called me up before you went on the air to millions and told them about the bridges I burned. So see, when you have people that say things like, oh, I was protecting her, well then DL should have said, brother, what is it that she said? See, because, and let me say this, and I'll try to say this with love, but I say it because it's how I feel. I've never met so many cowards and our black men in show business. I've never met so many black men that have no goddamn backbone. And that bothers me. Because y'all know when the cameras aren't running, see, I know these people when the cameras aren't running. And that's when I look at my brother and I say, how dare you, Steve?
And the irony is, the same stick that he was pointing at Monique and trying to beat her with by stating she did not understand the business, shortly thereafter was the same stick that they beat him with when they took away both of his shows. Yes. Because though he may have edited out the comments about the white boys heard the comments that he made that were edited out.
So you think that was...
Well, I think it was a dual aspect of it. What you can't call Steve is lazy. He's a hard worker, and he puts it in. And everything that he attained, he deserved. You can't take that away. What you can't call him is not a smart business person, because he formed a deal with IMG in order to have ownership over his show. Well, when they realize that you got ownership of your show and you a number 4 show in all daytime, that's a winning formula. You winning. To remove that says to people at large, it doesn't matter how much you're winning, and we can't be at a piece of it, and you a person of color too, we're going to remove you from the scene. So he is a man that said to the world, you need to do it the right way, and I know the right way to do it. Yet in him doing it what he thought was the proverbial right way, look at the outcome. And here's an individual who said, I know the right way to do it too, and that's to stand up for equality. But the outcome was the same thing. They both cast you to the side. You tried to do it that way, and you didn't do it that way. You just dealt with it from an integral standpoint. Then when all of it's gone, you have to ask yourself, can you live with yourself for doing it the right way versus playing by their rules and doing it the wrong way, and you still have the same results?
When I think about, we just mentioned Lee, well, like previously, we're talking about Mr. Harvey now. Paul Mooney has this bit called the nigga wake up call. You guys familiar with that?
Of course.
Is this their nigga wake up call moment?
You gotta ask Paul Mooney.
You gotta ask Steve.
You gotta ask Steve. You gotta ask Lee. You gotta ask Oprah. You gotta ask Tyler. You gotta ask him, when was your nigga wake up call moment?
Steve came back out, and it seemed like he kind of regretted some of the stuff that he was saying, or at least the stuff that got out. He was talking to DL, and he felt like he learned his lesson from that. I guess I'm just kind of hinting how the tide kind of turned, in a sense.
Eventually, who you are will always shine through. It may take a day. It may take years. Eventually, who you are is going to shine through. And I'm not saying people don't make mistakes. Let me be clear. We can make mistakes. We can say things and we say, oh, you know what? If I could get a do-over, or let me apologize for it, let me humbly admit to where I was wrong. But what I find in a lot of us is, got a hard time saying I'm sorry. I can't say I'm wrong because I'm almighty powerful. I'm Mother Nature. I'm Mother Earth. I'm the Christian of all Christians. So you watch these people and then you watch our community say, oh yeah, it's just about the bag. Don't worry about your integrity. And that's the part when I say, y'all, but don't you see we're failing like that? We're failing, we're crumbling, worrying about the bag and not the integrity. And there's a book that our good brother, oh God, his name is on the tip of my tongue, and he would hit me in my head, Louis Gossett. And he wrote a book, and he said, what Hollywood knows about us is what one nigga won't do, another nigga will. That's why they know there'll always be niggas that'll take less in Hollywood.
Yeah, like you said, it is a lack of backbone, even in our experience.
And to be arrogant is not the same as to be a bad person. You're just arrogant. And being a white person who is arrogant versus a black person who is arrogant, it's a different level of, if you will, wrong.
It's two different extremes.
It's two different extremes because it then bleeds into you as if you were a bad person. See, when Steve wrote the letter saying he's tired of people just walking into his room without knocking, that's what they do, and that's a fair assessment because we learned from walking in on mommy and daddy one too many times when they was in the mix without knocking. If you don't knock on the door before you come in, it's a problem. And what he was saying was fair, but he started to grow. We were told by an executive one time, as if Steve was just a fluke and he hadn't been a hard worker, that what he was experiencing just was a perfect storm. No, he earned that. He's skilled at what it is that he's doing, and you can't take it away from him. And the reason why we do Monique and Sydney's open relationship and the reason why we talk in the manner that we do is because we want to be clear. You can address what someone is doing without trying to tear that person down as if they are bad folks. You know what I mean? Which I don't believe Steve to be a bad guy because he wouldn't take the young men that he takes every summer to the side.
Okay, now wait a damn minute. I got an issue with something. And that's the fact that this daddy nigga has to take over the whole damn interview. Last time I checked, daddy don't tell jokes. Mr. Sidney Hicks doesn't have a law degree, doesn't have experience as an agent in Hollywood, but what he does have a reputation for is going to the table with these billionaires. It sounded like he just came off the street. It would be like if Essie Berry actually did, or God rest his soul, if Rerun was still living and had a podcast, it'd be like if Essie was doing all the talking. She's definitely not the talent. And when I say Essie, I'm referring to Essie Berry. And if you don't know who she is, all you have to do is just look her up. But again, I got tired of hearing that dude. So if you're a daddy fan, you know, it's all good. But Lord have mercy, that guy just, when he opened his mouth, HTV3, in reference to your comments, I personally first would prefer if Sidney kept his beak out of it. As he's always got to put his 2 cents in without any credentials. I also want to ask the choir a question. We got 37 people in. Anybody who's new, welcome. I'll give some shout outs in just a second. Mo said something in that last interview that stuck out to me. When she said that she was a Christian of all Christians. This is coming from a woman that went to a white, conservative, radio talk show. And if I can look it up, who was the name of that talk show? If anybody does know, I know you're quick on the whip. Truth. Oh, okay, I found him. It's the Bernie and Sid show. So for those of you who don't know, I believe it was last year, year before last, when she was on her Netflix thing. Mo went against Code. She went against Code when she went to a white conservative talk show to run black people under the bus. And then she changed her whole vernacular when she did it. Though her accent, that Baltimore, that sass, it was gone. All that shuck and jive talk that she does when she gets comfortable, that she backslides into. She didn't do any of that when she talked to the white men. She used her job interview voice. Now, for a woman of integrity to go to the enemy to run her brothers under the bus, that's not a good look to me. All right, again, I really appreciate all the comments, so I can't read them all, but I will hit on the bigger points. HT says, many think Mo is brave to speak on the powerhouse personas of the industry. She may be on what Jim Jones rapped about in his latest song, "What Once Upon a Time, If I'm Blackballed, Where's the Hoop At?" Black Pixie, welcome back to the chat. Glad to have you here in the chat. Monique keeping herself relevant, staying in people's mouth with her story. I agree, Pixie. I've been saying that the whole time. All right, HC said, I don't know why Steve was totally anti-Mo when she was on his show. They reportedly took Arsenio's show off the first time years back for having Minister Louis Farrakhan on. Constance says, you right. Why be back with the game when you're free to get away from it? Amen, sister. I know that you are from the earlier chat that you're a Mo fan. Mad respect for that. But what you said right there just hit the nail on the head. HT says, but relevant to what? To whom? Those who are also blackballed. It sounds like Mo's trying to keep herself solvent in a job where integrity can be maintained. Good point, Truth. Truth says, so if you don't care what bridges you burn, how do you expect anyone to repair the bridge you burn? HT says, fire purifies. Uh-oh. Now, the Truth and HT are probably the most two cerebral of this chat. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And I want you guys to call in, too. Fire purifies. If the bridge is foul, unfair, warped, it may need to be burned, build a new one stronger with same structure. That's how I roll. I had to burn a few bridges in my life. I have zero regrets. Constance says now he knows what she really felt like, but he's not on social media to prove a point. Thanks again for the shout out, Lady T. And I do ask everyone to humbly please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're having fun, you can donate via Super Chat and Patreon at patreon.com/Sly Jones. And say we always want to keep that love rolling. All right. Mr. Rock Music brings up an interesting point. Monique wasn't blackballed. She was punished. You cannot bite the hand that feeds you, ever. Now, when I go to Monique's YouTube channel, right? I'm going to it right now in the background. Give credit where credit is due again to Monique. What's the name of her channel? All right. Monique's channel is Monique Worldwide. That's M-O with the little mark, N-I-Q-U-E Worldwide. And I am subscribed to her channel. She's pushing almost 70,000 subs. But let me bring up a serious point here, and I want to know what you guys think about this. When I go to ReelBlack, ReelBlack has several 100,000 views for his interview, right? Comedy Hype just hit 1 million. So the videos that he created went viral, right? Everybody's following me. When I read the comments from that chat, you would think that Monique just had an army of loyal followers that were backing her up, right? On an average week, Mo gets 3,000 to 4,000 views on her channel. Granted, this is an award-winning actress. Academy Award, NAACP Image Awards, nominated for many, many others. Right? Some of her videos from the last few months have around 12 or 13,000 views. She did have one about Steve Harvey that got 188,000 views. But until she comes out to complain about what she complains about, she's irrelevant. Lovely T can come out with a video and hit 1 million views in a week, right? Something about Chris Brown or Rihanna or whoever, whatever celebrity. These are just bloggers. This woman gives you actual access to her through her phone number, 470-282-1802. You can actually call and speak to a Black Academy Award-winning actress and her husband, and she still doesn't get more than 13,000, 14,000 views. Because nobody here that says they're a Monique fan, a real Monique fan, is even checking for her like that. Put down in the chat the last stand-up you saw, Monique, and be honest. What is the last stand-up you saw? Besides Queens of Comedy, besides BET, and besides Def Jam. When is the last time you heard comedian Monique tell a joke? While you guys ponder on that, I'm going to go back to the chat. Ian Lee says integrity, Hollywood. Monique, you should know better than that. And I agree. Your soul is your integrity. Your soul secures your ascension or not. That was HT. Mr. Rock says, what happened to Mo has happened to many other people in her circle. She witnessed many people not on her level of stardom that fell victim to the same treatment. Iris says, now we know why Sydney doesn't allow her to be reasonable. He's the battery in her back. All right, Sydney Hicks is college educated, well-spoken from B-More. I'm sure he'd find a job if he didn't marry Mo. Let's say he may be a great computer programmer. He may drive the shit out of a forklift. Maybe the guy can write novels. He might be an awesome writer. Give him a scalpel, shit, he might do surgery. But when it comes to being a Hollywood agent and knowing how to maneuver in that industry, I'd have to say that he's lacking in too many ways. If you disagree, you can tell me in the chat. Thanks, I ain't mad at you. Again, the name of Monique's channel is Monique Worldwide, MO''NIQUE Worldwide. Nobody's watching those exercise videos. Nobody's really checking for the call in. It's like people want to see a train wreck, and that's why they tune in. Because if they were really that serious, especially the way they were in the videos and video comments, you'd think that these people really ride or die for Mo. And I'm sorry, but they're not. All right, let's see here. Sorry, that's my moderator in the background. This is her first time moderating one of the videos, so she apologizes while she's back here laughing her ass off. That's Lady T, by the way. So please help me welcome Lady T to the Sly Jones channel family. And I'm also going to play another video. I know we're running a little long tonight, but again, we're having fun chat. I think we were up to about 37 at one point. We still got 30 people rolling with us. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Now, 4 days ago, Lipstick Alley picked up on what's going on. So I'm going to read some of the comments from Lipstick Alley. Shout out Lipstick Alley. Much love for black media, even though y'all can be messy as shit sometimes. All right. Longlegs09 says Monique is exhausting. How about do a show and make some money? Quit living in the past and rehashing mess. If it was an issue, address it as it happens. Must be sad to live in the past instead of embracing what could be her future. All right. Someone in Lipstick Alley says again. Older Readers says, I mean, she's not working, so she's got time today, tomorrow, and all week. And that's a lie. She is working, and she does have a residency in Vegas. She's one of the first females to have a residency in Vegas under comedy. So, you gotta give the sister love where love is due, whether you like her or not. At least be honest. Ooh, one of the commenters read my mind, because we're going to move to Charlemagne next. I don't like her, but she's not wrong about Charlemagne the God. He's a phony. He bullies and antagonizes people on the show and he thinks don't matter, and then genuflects to those that he likes, perceives as having power. He pretends to ask probing questions, but he's really detached and too ill prepared to be able to create meaningful dialogue. He's always phoning it in and pretending to be deep, but he's really just being a troll. Ooh. So, that moves us, that's a great segue to our next clip, and that's going to be Charlemagne the God, or her opinion about Charlemagne. So again, anybody who's new to the chat, welcome. Shout out to Constance Reed, Black Pixie, Nisi, another new face. Welcome to the chat. How can daddy call himself a man and get a percentage of his wife's money? Daddy needs a damn job. Like I say, he can go be a EMT, firefighter, sell insurance. But as far as booking gigs for Monique, he's just not equipped. Private Iris, you hit the nail on the head. I'm going to give you a digital cookie. The difficulties first started when she married Sydney. All we could hear in the beginning was how difficult he was. People may not remember this, but I do. I've been following this long enough, too. So, yeah, Private Iris, you're absolutely right. A lot of this started with when she got affiliated with him. Well, she married him and let him be the mouthpiece for her empire. Uh-oh, one of my OGs just showed up. Wanda Wisdom. If you haven't already, please subscribe to her channel as well. Glad to have you back, too. Call me old school, and I agree. Have you heard KRS song Step Into My World when he rapped a dope MC as a dope MC? I don't tend to fancy that. So what's Mo's channel? Don't have that many numbers. The masses are programmed to follow trends, not real talent anymore, let alone real justice. All right, in reference to Sydney, he's a manager. That's what managers are supposed to do, be a mouthpiece. That's true. And every man, every black man should stand strong for his wife. But two things you got to do is pick your battles and stay in your lane. There's nothing wrong with him backing her up at a award ceremony or in an interview or whatever, but like I say, nobody's buying tickets to listen to Sydney. No more than I want to hear Cat Williams' girlfriend chime in about his situation. Matter of fact, nobody even knows who his girlfriend or wife is. Nobody really cares. You care about him and his jokes. Do I know what Chris Rock's wife looks like? Hell no. Even if they're sitting down talking to D.L. Hughley or whatever, like I say, there's some interviews where his wife is there. But for the most part, it's just not that necessary. There's a time and a place for that, and it's not in the business. You don't mix business and love. There's certain things you just don't mix. Just to keep professionalism. And then she's paying him like he's on her payroll. That's no different than Wendy Williams' husband. And then they have a quote-unquote open marriage, I guess. So while she's out in Vegas making the money, he's somewhere in Atlanta or Baltimore spending the money for doing absolutely nothing. I don't know about that. But again, that was the segue over to the Charlemagne discussion. So again, thank you so much for everybody chiming in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And show love to Comedy Hype. Let's make sure we give that guy the credit for all this hard work he put in for these interviews. All right, here we go.
I've seen and heard the destruction that brother has done in our community. I've heard the poison that he's poured out over that air in our community.
Has the podcast kind of helped your marriage?
The podcast wasn't meant to help the marriage. The podcast was really meant to help me. Because before the podcast happened, there were conversations that Sid and I were having because I was mentally ill. And he was the only one that could have those conversations that would make me listen. Because he would say things to me that challenged me to my core, that made me have conversations with myself. And some of those conversations were very hard. They were very ego crushing. It was challenging to a place where no one had ever challenged me before. I was used to being the authority. I was used to saying, this is what it is, this is how it's gonna go, especially when money got involved. Oh, I'm really the boss now. So no one had ever had the kind of conversations that would make me change my life and saved my life.
Do you feel like you have grown in the marriage with the podcast? Has it gotten better?
Yeah, because I've gotten better.
Okay.
You know,
what were you kind of like dealing with, if you like to comment on that? What does that mean? You said mentally ill.
When you grow up in what's misery, but it looks normal, so you don't know to call it misery because it's normal behavior. And I was raised in a tension-filled home. And I was raised around women that were mentally ill too. And when I say mentally ill, it's just a lot of things we were raised to believe and conditioned, and the traditions that's cemented in us. And I wasn't willing to let it go. I was strong in being mentally ill until my friend said, let's have some conversations. And it was those conversations that were taking me to my knees, because no one had ever said it and put it like that before. And I said to him, I said, Daddy, I know I'm not unique. And I know there's a lot of people out there that's mentally ill just like me. And could you please do this show so we can have these conversations, because I believe it will save people's lives.
You think at least what you were dealing with is kind of connected to this big conversation now with African Americans and dealing with that? Is that kind of falling into that, what you had personally going on?
When you say connected?
Like, there's a big conversation now about mental illness in our community, and Charlemagne the God, he's one of the people that try to advocate it constantly.
I won't even accept that he is advocating for mental illness. Stop it, Leonard. Whichever camera is mine, Leonard, you're advocating for mental illness.
He's big on that. That's his thing. Why that response to him on that?
That response to him on that is because I've seen and heard the destruction that brother has done in our community. I've heard the poison that he's poured out over that air in our community. Now, everyone's allowed to change. Let me say that. Everyone can wake up and say, you know what, I now see it differently. But I think that the only way we make change in our community is at first acknowledge we were part of the damage. So I say Leonard and we laugh, but in all seriousness, I think that brother played a big part in the destruction of our community. Now, if he...
But not a big part, because his span of time doing what he's doing or has been doing, I can't give him that type of negative credit, but it's the equivalent of saying there's a level of perpetuation of fame and a lack of empathy that I've seen him indulge in. When I watched, obviously Monique's interview with him, now he's speaking in reference to women's rights and things of that nature, where no one would question any of the kings of comedy. If you look at their career from DL to Steve to Bernie to Cedric, working consistently, flowing, no question. You look at the queens, what's the difference? And other than they're women. And there's a level of acknowledgement that wasn't given. When you see him having the interview with Kanye, and that man invites him out to his home, and then after interviewing with him, he's donkey of the day. There's a lack of empathy that this man gives to the community. So if you're an advocate for it, then that means you remove donkey of the day and you understand that people make mistakes. Or there's a level of consideration for people that I haven't seen him give, because it's more about ratings, it would appear. Somebody may have spoken to him and maybe he's opened his mind, his heart, and things of that nature. But there's a coarseness to his energy. There's a lack of connect to his people. And it's odd to me when I hear people and see him on CNN and they talking to him as if he's some authority. He hasn't had the tenure in this life to have the authority, because when you're an authority on dealing with people, that same authority is accompanied by empathy. And he has not yet been in the company to have accompanied empathy into his way of being at this juncture that I've seen. So I don't want to say he's the reason why, but it's just intriguing that you say that this is what he's a part of. And I hope that he's really about it and starts to be a little bit more considerate of others who may have made some mistakes along the way, or what he considers to have made a mistake in speaking up for black women as she has, as well as black women, men, which people.
He just took over the conversation again. Damn it, man. Riverbend, I agree. Why is he interrupting her? Jeez, he's worse than Puff Daddy in a music video. Good God. Okay, now it looks like the discussion has turned to mental illness. Of course, anytime Charlemagne's name comes up now, the discussion does turn to that, because he's supposed to be seeking help now. If you can't already tell, as a Virgo and an empath, I can usually look in somebody's eyes, body language, things they say, to determine where a person's vibration and spirit is. And if this is all hocus pocus too, you can ignore that, but I believe in that power. And in the past 4 years, just based on intuition alone, Monique doesn't look healthy. Yes, she lost a lot of weight, granted. And fat folks don't always be pretty when they lose a lot of weight. It's just the truth. They got long heads, like got the Al Sharpton head, and the saggy meat on the arms, and they just look funny. And I'm not saying that about Mo, because she's worked really hard to drop that 200 pounds. Again, shout out to her. But when she talks, like when she made that video about Netflix, she looked like she was a hostage. I thought she was shooting that video from Iraq. She got captured by Al Qaeda or something. But she set up that Sony Handycam and made that hostage video, trying to get free from Netflix, or trying to get a deal with Netflix, or whatever it was she was trying to do. Boycott Netflix, that's what it was. Because somehow that's supposed to help Hattie McDaniel and Moms Mabley and whoever else she mentioned. The woman from Night Court. Can't even remember her name now. She is actually funny, by the way. Roz, the lady that played Roz. She is a bona fide stand-up. Like I say, I'm not mad at Mo's motivations. But at this point in the battle, I think it's time to change strategy. Got to fire her head general, which is Daddy, and then get out there and put in that work. Shoot a special, make amends, and never look back at Tyler Perry, Lee Daniel, or anybody else. There's enough young female hungry comedians that if she brought them up, she could get another reality show, just like she had with the spinoff of what was that guy? Flavor Flav show, The Flavor of Love. Instead of having 6 skanks, what if she had 6 funny female comedians and only one of them can go on the road with her? That's a show idea right there. Fuck Daddy. Fuck Sydney Hicks. I need to be her her agent. And I won't even take as much money as he does. I'll take a half a percent if it means that she'll live the rest of her life happy and not have to be obsessed with the Illuminati. Going back to the chat, with the way Charlemagne treated Lil Mo and any women, he feels like he got away with that. CTG needs to invest in his own mental health. Rock Music said, "You was punished, Mo. I don't feel sorry for the backlash you're receiving. I will never know the truth of why you were abandoned, just like I don't know if your success is based on just your talent." Ooh. Ooh. Miss T said that's below the belt. And I'm sitting here like I agree 1,000%. Don't laugh at me. All right. Wanda says it's a damn shame if Mo was punished for what again? Not allowing them to mistreat her? They seem to punish Mo worse than the Harvey Weinstein's, Woody Allen's of the industry. Sorry if I'm stuttering, guys. There's a bad echo in the background. I can hear myself, so I apologize for that. I know it sounds like I'm stopping in between sentences. No, Wanda, I don't think that she was punished. But there's something that she said. Something that she done. That they don't just drop you like that. Now, in the beginning, they were saying that she didn't play the game because she didn't travel to push Precious. The money didn't look right. And she didn't get the benefits and everything that she wanted to go. Because once you win an Academy Award, they figure you can foot your own bill. And that you want to promote yourself so that you get those other rewards that you were nominated for. The BAFTAs, the Golden Globes, and the other things that she was nominated for. You go on a circuit. Do you think that any of the A-list celebrities right now just say, no, I'm going to stay home with my husband and kids? That's some po people shit. That's something that you do when you're not a mogul or in charge of $1 million corporation. That's trifling. Especially when you've been given opportunities and blessings like that to put yourself out there. Because this is all about her. You couldn't mention Precious without mentioning her. And she wasn't even a title character. She was supporting. And she could have sold that movie over the top. But again, she chose not to. All right, again, you guys are making some awesome points in the chat. Wanda says Virgos are very analyzing. Yes, we are. Read the instructions on everything. All right, Spook. Like I said, I haven't forgot about you, brother. You can call in. I got one more snippet to play. And that's going to be of Whoopi. And this time she actually cries. Now, this is where I think she's a little bit cuckoo. Just saying. Being honest. Listen to her talk. You don't have to be an empath or a Virgo. She just listen to things she says. Just like when she was talking about Charlemagne, she mentioned her mental illness. If you didn't notice that, please listen to the full interview when you go over to Comedy Hype after you leave the chat tonight. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and play the her thoughts on Whoopi. Again, we still got 24 people in the chat. Welcome to everybody that's here. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Because see, Whoopi Goldberg told me the salary she makes from The View, and that hurt my feelings, that you've been there for 10 years and you accept them paying you that, and you telling me, don't worry about the little one coming up. God damn if I ain't gotta be worried about you too. Because you accept that salary, it makes it hard.
What I think is also interesting, you mentioning Oprah, it seemed like definitely a disappointment to see someone that you looked up to. The character didn't match your character of what you felt was also important. And I think about Whoopi Goldberg, you being a black woman stand-up comedian, and you going to her show, and from what I kind of gathered, she brought up the whole Netflix thing, and you guys talked about being blackballed on The View. And backstage, she tells you something in the regards of don't worry about the other ones coming behind you, worry about yourself. How did you feel initially seeing someone that I'm assuming you looked up to pretty much tell you that they didn't care about you in a sense?
See, this is the part that's hard for me. Because there was some women that gave a damn about me before I got here. And that was Hattie McDaniels. That was Eartha Kitt. That was Ida B. Wells. That was Louise Beavers. That was those black women saying, I'm going to take these ass whippings so hopefully you won't have to take them. I'm going to take them calling me a to my face. I'll take them calling me a black. I'll take them telling me, you better not step over this line. I'll take all of that so hopefully you won't have to. Patti LaBelle hugs me in a way, baby, that hug came from a place of love. That's Aunt Patty in the community. And when I first met that woman, she held on to me so tight. And I was one of the last people in line of hundreds of people that stood in line at a concert. And she hugged me like I was the first. So I hold on to those memories to make me say, let me make sure that when a little girl holds on to me, she feels the same way I felt when Patti LaBelle held on to me at a concert after hugging people for 2 hours. You hear me? 2 hours. And she hugged me like I was the first person in line. So when ain't no cameras rolling, Patti LaBelle is Patti LaBelle. See, when I first met Patti LaBelle, I was going through my second divorce, right? And I found out what I had to pay. So I'm backstage, baby, drama, going through it. That woman pulled me to the side and said, come here, little girl. What's wrong with you? Don't you ever let them see you fall apart. The one thing that man can take from you is your talent. Give him that money right now. Give it to him. And you go out on that stage and you show your ass. And you give the people in the back seats a hell of a show. Because they the ones that really didn't have no money that's coming to see you. See, that's the kind I got. That's what I got filled with. I got filled with Valerie Simpson and Ashford Simpson inviting me up to their home and saying, hey, baby, let me tell you what it's supposed to be. When one get it, everybody get it. That's the era we came from. So I got those women filling me. I got Susan Taylor from Essence saying, listen, don't bullshit it. When she walked away, Essence walked away. But when I got those women that pulling me up saying, hey, little sister, let me talk to you for a minute. So when I get Whoopi Goldberg on the flip saying, them little ones coming behind you, you better give a damn about you. That crushed me that day in her dressing room because, see, Whoopi Goldberg told me the salary she makes from The View, and that hurt my feelings, that you've been there for 10 years and you accept them paying you that, and you telling me, don't worry about the little one coming up. God damn if I ain't got to be worried about you too. Because you accept that salary, it makes it hard for me. And how hard do you think it's going to make for the one who ain't here yet? Because you accept that salary. So there's stand in my sister's dressing room and she say to me, you can't be worried about that one coming up. Well, what if Moms Mabley didn't worry about you? What if those ones didn't make it better for us? So I try not to take it personal, but it's personal because these are the women I look to. So I don't want the little girl who's not here yet, or little girl right down the street at the juice bar that says, oh my goodness, that's Monique. I don't want her to walk away and say, that ain't who I thought she was.
All right, the phone lines are now open. And the number on the screen is correct. We have 605 313 5384, extension 165287. That's a good question. Let's look at Whoopi's net worth. And if Spook is here and wants to call in, feel free. Whoopi's worth 45 mil, and her annual salary is around $5 million a year. And that's accurate as of June 22nd, 2019. So, yo, what do they mean by that? What does Mo mean by that? Mo is in tears crying because Whoopi makes $5 million a year? Whoopi could pay off her tax bill and still like $4 million to spare. So to give my overall opinion, and again, anybody can call in. There's horrible background music in the background. Looks like somebody's calling in. Spook, call the call-in line if you can. 'Cause I don't think I can do both at the same time. So go ahead and call in. I got you calling in on my personal phone. But if you can, please call the line. 605-313-5384, and the extension is in the chat. Again, I'm more than happy to take your call, and the number's on the screen. Ha. Black Pixie says Gayle King just got $11 million after kicking R. Kelly in the ass, and that's true. I don't trust her either. Like I say, you got a point. Mo has a point. I don't trust Steve Harvey. I don't trust Charlemagne. I don't trust any of these people. But how much of her soul does she have to give into talking about these people, or having to keep mentioning them like they're God? Oprah is not God. Oprah can't wave a magic wand by saying sorry and, oh, we accept you back into Hollywood, please be in my next movie. Do you realistically think that's going to happen? There's such a thing called forgiveness. There's a thing called letting it go. I don't ever want to see a black woman suffer like she suffered. The way they treated her, the way they blackballed her, I guess, if you could say. That's her career. That's her livelihood. And I don't want to see a black woman lose their livelihood like that. Not know anybody as talented as she. But there's also a way of handling business that you can work things out in your favor. Maybe not a $500,000 payday, but a whole bunch of little $50,000 ones add up. If I was in Vegas, I'd spend $70 for a ticket. Somebody in the chat mentioned earlier that their son, I believe, went to one of her shows. Hold on, let me see if I can answer this call. All right, we have Spook TV on the line. All right, what's your opinion about Mo and the chat this evening?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Well, she got a right to her opinion,
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I agree with a lot of her opinions, Spook, not to cut you off, but her thoughts on Charlemagne, her thoughts on Whoopi. I mean, Whoopi was literally married to a white man that did blackface at a award ceremony. Charlemagne
Okay.
has been known to coon out from time to time. He said things that were detrimental to the black community or the people that he had on the show that he didn't like. You know, when Kevin Hart comes on the Breakfast Club, he kisses his ass. But if it's somebody he doesn't like Baby or somebody like that, or somebody in the industry, he doesn't like their music, he sits there playing on his cell phone. His body language is fucked up. He's not communicating. And he just comes across as a sucky individual unless he's talking about gay rights or mental health, and all of a sudden he's some kind of expert. So I don't disagree that Mo has beef with the same people that if I were in the industry, I would have beef with her questions about. But do you think she should let it go, or do you think she should continue to keep talking about Lee Daniel and these people?
First of all, haven't we all, Sly? Haven't we all been in that situation? Huh? Haven't we all been in that situation, though?
Which situation specifically?
The first one which you're talking about.
You mean having people that you work with or whatever that
Yeah.
stab you in the back or?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's right. Yeah. Haven't we all been in that situation, though, Sly?
Right, Spook. But tell me this: how did you handle it when you came out on top? As far as like, give us an example. For like I say, because there's a lot of people like Mo who need that guidance from people that have been there and done that. So if you could tell Mo how you were delivered from that, what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Delivered from what? And what I'm supposed to be delivered from compared to Mo? Sly?
The situation of being taken advantage of, or having people around you that tried to stab you in the back. Like I say, in my personal experience, I had it happen, but I delivered myself from it by, number one, taking myself out of the situation, and then number two, praying on it and not putting those people above God. And once I did that and put it in perspective and realized that God had a bigger mission for me, the people that were around me that tried to hurt me no longer had power.
Okay. Puff Daddy said it best. More money, more problems. So, I don't understand, and not saying you, Sly. I'm saying people in general, they think when they get money or they get status, all your problems don't so-called go away. It's not. More money, more problems. So I say that, Sly, to say this. I say that to say this. So, you think just because you being this average, what society says is average person, 9 to 5, whatever you do, 9 to 5 average. You think you're better than the celebrity or the, I'm just gonna say, I ain't gonna even compare you to the self-millionaire, the self-made millionaire. Made his business and established it and became a millionaire. I'm talking about the goddamn so-called, quote-unquote, made it successful. I'm working for another motherfucker 9 to 5. That's what you think? You think the world operates like that? Actually, do you think that? That's what I want to know. You think that's fine?
I don't know. I want to make sure I'm clear on your question. Now, I think that we all have to put our pants on one leg at a time, celebrities or not. But there comes a certain amount of responsibility when you run an empire. And it's not just you and your family, it's the people you hire, it's the people, the buildings you build, the concrete business ties that you make with solid agents, solid people. And then that's how you create generational wealth, and that's how you keep it going. But you can have the t-shirt shop guy, you apply the same principle. If you got 5 other t-shirt guys at the ball game and they've been the ones out there for years and you're just trying to break through, They're going to do little things to make sure they get a better spot than you because they've been out there longer. But if you want to be successful, you got to look above them and know what God's mission is for you. And whether you're a celebrity or you're just a poor guy working a 9 to 5, I think by applying that and putting your faith in God first, everything else falls into place, regardless of how many enemies you have, because we all got enemies. You know, the devil's always working hard, especially to separate black people. When we've already been broken into enough separate factions. We got the Hebrew Israelites on one side and the Wahabians on the other, the all these other cults and stuff popping up, all of them in the name of black power. I'm not mad at that. But all that separation, it takes away from our power as a whole.
Okay. Let me ask you a question though, Sly.
Mm-hmm.
My brother. You just said, what you just say?
My basic thing is that celebrities put their pants on one leg at a time the same way we do. And the same ways that they can apply to their being. I mean, as far as my peers, black people, my people. I mean, I do have white friends in the chat, mixed friends in the chat. But when I say we, and Mo, and Charlemagne, and Steve Harvey, and Whoopi, I'm speaking specifically about black people.
Why you got the name drop though, bro?
It's not name dropping. Those are just examples of the people we talked about this evening.
But everybody don't know who Charlemagne the God is, bro.
Okay, for people that don't know, there's a nationally syndicated show called The Breakfast Club that plays every morning on urban radio.
Yes, I know. Listen, I know who it is. But you name drop, my brother, like you got a vendetta or some shit.
No, I'm just speaking on the people we're speaking about tonight because it's relevant.
Everybody don't know who the hell that is.
That's fine. I can educate the crowd easily. Like I say, Charlemagne the God is a nationally syndicated DJ that belongs to the Breakfast Club. And anybody that's seen my Cat Williams video would know that he also has two colleagues by the name of DJ Envy and what's the girl's name? Angela Yee. They come on most popular urban stations anywhere between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. depending on your market. But they have very popular interviews with everybody from Kamala Harris. So if you watch my last video, one of my last videos, about 4 videos ago, I had part of the Breakfast Club interview with Kamala Harris when we were discussing politics.
Kamala Harris?
Right, Kamala. It's pronounced like Kamala, but with a K. But anyway,
no, actually it's Kamala.
All right, tomato. That's cool. I don't want to get hung up on semantics.
Listen, bro, it's Kamala.
Okay, it's Kamala.
Like I'm calm.
That's cool.
Seriously.
It's cool. It's fine. It's fine. It's Kamala. It's cool.
Kamala. Okay. Go ahead, though.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right, but to your point, like I said, I don't think that the rules apply to successful people in Hollywood no more than they do your small business owner or your preacher or anybody who's out here hustling on their own as especially independent contractors like plumbers and such who in very tight competition, especially in a small town like Columbus where we live, where there's not a lot of black entrepreneurs, and the handful we do seem to be like in competition with each other rather than working together. And the same thing applies to Hollywood too. So I don't think anything happens any differently in Hollywood than it happens to us, but there are lessons to be learned. So anybody who's watching from the outside that sees Monique's situation can learn something whether they agree with her or not as far as being a successful person and dealing with the pitfalls that come with success. Whether you're the barbecue man or whether you Monique, it's the same struggle.
Okay, let me ask you this question, Sly. You from Columbus, Georgia?
Right.
Right? You from Columbus, right?
Right.
What have you done, Sly? Tell me something, one thing that you have done within the past year that you can say that I can talk shit about any motherfucker, Monique, anybody, because I've been out there, I've done it. Tell me one thing that you've done that make you talk shit above everybody, Sly. I want to know.
Well,
within the past
it's interesting that you say above, because I don't speak above anybody. I think I speak slow and clearly enough that anybody from the oldest person to the youngest person kind of understand me and where I'm coming from. So I don't ever try to speak above or or think I'm superior to anybody. Matter of fact, I love my platform because I learn from every single person that comments. Whether I agree with them or not, we all have something to learn from each other. So that's the goal for my platform. And then as far as having a platform to talk shit, I feel like everybody that's got their own platform can say anything they want. Whether people like it or not, whether people agree with it or not, I think everybody should be free to express themselves and not have to get upset about it or feel like people have to agree with them or see their point of view. I don't think everybody that came to here tonight agrees with me. I'm not a Monique fan. I was. I'm not big on what she's doing now. When she gets off this kick that she's on, this obsession she has with these other celebrities, then I feel like I can roll with Mo again. And I also give her respect as a black queen from Baltimore who came up and created an empire for herself. So like I said, I have mad respect for everybody's hustle. I don't hold anything against anybody. So like I said, I'm not above or below. I like to be right on the level playing field with everybody. And I don't put myself above or below anybody.
Okay. Well, shit, that's all I got, my brother. And I'm about to get ready. It's been a long day for me, so I'm gonna get ready to get off the phone line. I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you taking my call.
Oh yeah, I take everybody's call. Since I've had this channel, I've never blocked anybody. And I like everybody to be able to call in and freely express themselves. And I'm glad that you did that.
Well, I do. I do. I block people. I do. And I ain't gonna lie, I do. Only when it's needed, though. But I appreciate you taking my call, though, my brother. And, hey, everybody got a right to their opinion, my brother.
Absolutely. And may Yahweh bless you, brother. I appreciate you calling in, and I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. And I hope you continue to support the channel, and I appreciate the love, brother.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, that was Spook TV 7. So please feel free to subscribe to his channel. Again, he belongs to a group of bloggers called the Regulators, and they put in that work as far as exposing this blogger named Essie Berry. Now back into the chat. Who do you have on the line? Truth, what's going on? All right, Truth is one of the OGs of that group called the Regulators, along with Spook, and he's also a good friend of the channel. So thanks for calling in, brother. What's on your mind?
This whole Monique thing, I mean, it's going to be 50-50 down the line. Some people are going to feel like what she's doing, she's standing up for her rights, but in the end, it's a job.
Right.
And if you stand in line for a paycheck, you got to play the game, don't you?
But see, that's the thing, Truth, that she hasn't wanted to play the game. She wanted to skip out on all those award ceremonies instead of pushing Precious. She just kind of made herself hard to work with, which people wrote letters. And there's a blogger by the name of John Murray, J-A-W-N Murray. Now, he's not the most popular blogger, but the dude is awesome, talented young man. And if you ever get a chance, check out his Facebook Live or his YouTube channel. He exposed a lot of what Essie... oh, my God. Essie Berry on the brain. You did it, Truth. It's your fault. Monique. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, John Murray exposed Monique as far as the people that... the little people at the studios, like the caterers and the makeup people, how Monique treated them like shit, especially on the Almost Christmas set. I believe either Iris or Riverbend brought that up earlier in the chat, and I'm glad they did. But go ahead, Truth.
I mean, it's a game. I mean, when you watch a TV show, when it first starts out, those actors aren't getting paid the money they are, but once that show catches on and them views go up and people are watching, they get paid. In the movie world, you get paid for what your last movie was. If you're a big star and people loved you and they're going to see that movie because of you, you're going to get paid that next movie.
I'm going to give you a good example of that, Truth, not to cut you off, but that's the Friday movies. If you look at it, John Witherspoon, everybody in that movie, from Ice Cube on down, originally made $5,000 for that movie. That's after royalties, VHS sales, everything. That movie only clocked. I mean, they only clocked $5,000. And then I think Witherspoon made $1 million on Friday after next. Now, had he been a dick, it said, "No, I don't want to promote Friday. They only paid me $5,000. You give me more money. Hold Ice Cube hostage, the same way they tried to do Lee Daniels." Then Friday wouldn't even be the same.
You're right, because you know why? Somebody took a chance and made Friday. Ice Cube and them pushed for that movie. And that was the deal. We're going to take this amount of money because I think I could make this something.
Amen.
And they did. And they did. And that's what Hollywood's about. Sometimes they'll take scripts and be like, I don't really want to put money into that. And they have to say, well, you know what? I stand behind my project. Well, let's do this. And they have to make deals.
Say what you just said again, Truth. You said, "I stand behind my project." That's what I'm talking about. Because supporting your own, like I say, Ice Cube didn't wait on Lee Daniel or a Oprah. He did his own thing, and it became successful, even though it was done on a small scale at first. Just like Soul Plane. Soul Plane made its money back 100 times over. That little piece of shit movie that had an all-star cast, which hardly any of them were stars at the time, but it turned out to be a hilarious movie and an awesome investment for the people that put in that little $200,000, $300,000 to make that movie.
Boys in the Hood. That's Singletary, right?
Right, another great example.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't going to get behind that. Hollywood wasn't getting behind that. They took a chance, and they pushed that movie. And you know what? I don't think they were getting paid to promote that movie.
They were taking cars, buses, flying Southwest, doing everything they could to make sure that the world knew about it. And this was before social media. This before Facebook, MySpace, any of that.
You got movies with Tupac and Janet Jackson. That was
Yeah, Poetic Justice.
Yeah, Poetic Justice. That didn't have, a budget. That wasn't a blockbuster $20 million movie at the time. But they stood behind it. And now everybody has seen that movie.
Let's look at Cat Williams as an example in comedy. He owns all his specials. Every single one. Now, who's to say that he didn't take a loss on promoting and that and whatever, but he put himself out there.
But you know why he owns them? Because he learned from the last guy. He learned from the Richard Pryors and the guys before him that didn't own their own stuff. He learned from them that if I don't put money in myself and own my own stuff, I'm not going to get paid.
Exactly. And that's the example that I would wish, that I would pray for Monique to follow. Because I feel like she can influence a lot of young black women in America, the comedians, the actresses, the singers, to make sure that they get their just due. I'm not mad at her for that. But if she's not going to set the example and put in the work herself, then why would any other young girl look at her and say, "Oh, I want to be like her and do what she does," when she's not out here putting in the work, or she's not out there being visible? Like, say, Las Vegas is big, but that's only one city. That's not a tour. And
Las
to be
Vegas is limbo. Las Vegas is limbo. They send you there at the end of your career, or like some of your people have said, you did something. They send you out there, and you stay out there to think about what you did. And you might be able to come back.
Yeah, think about how Sammy Davis Jr. got his ass whooped by Sinatra before he got his residency.
Well, that's where they all went, but Las Vegas used to be the place where you go to die. Liberace, You know, all those guys went out there to die. They played out there forever.
That's
because
true.
that was where people went, and that's where they wanted to see it, but that was the crowd at that time. Vegas has changed now. So, you know, I mean, how many of the comedians that you don't see on TV, that's where they're at. They're doing residencies in the little hotels, the little stages.
Yeah, Monique is currently at the L&H Hotel or something like that. She's not at the Grand. She's not at the any of those. She's at the Caesar's Palace.
I think that's down by it's in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's down by Treasure Island and all that.
Wow. So yeah, she's on the Strip, but I mean, come on, the SLS. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I know what that is. But here's the thing. You mentioned Cat Williams. Cat Williams will put money into himself to get money back. Will Monique? Ice Cube did it. Ice Cube put that money into Friday.
Now I got to give Monique her credit. Now she did bite off of Ice Cube, and she had this ghetto play that went through the South and the Chitlin circuit just 2 years ago that was called The Neighborhood Barbershop, biting off of The Barbershop. She had a couple actors off of the old Tyler Perry type circuit, and they couldn't sell out Atlanta. They couldn't sell out Baltimore. And those are both of Monique's hometowns. So it's not for the fact she didn't try, but it was so unoriginal and it was so shoddy and it was just so ghetto that, you know, it's 2018, 19. You can't get away with that shit anymore. You know, back in the early 2000s, the Tyler Perry show was shot guerrilla style and the show kind of changed every night and they kept it interesting. Now in 2018, 19, people aren't going to shows like that anymore. Or am I wrong?
Well, the Tyler Perry had a name. Okay, and his plays, you know, sold out everywhere. But in the beginning, they didn't. It wasn't until he caught on, and then he was making the videos.
Right.
You know, we're talking back VHS. We're talking VHS videos.
I made good
and,
money off those back in the day.
Yeah, but that was the thing, though. That he promoted himself. You think people didn't see the video, didn't want to run and go see the play for real? Yes, he promoted himself. Tyler Perry said it himself. When he got that award, he said, I wasn't looking for a place at their table. I made my own table.
See? And when you make your own table, everybody can eat. And that's what I look for in a leader.
Exactly. Now, I don't know what Monique did to Tyler Perry to make him feel like, hey, I really don't want to deal with you, but I've seen some outrageous Hollywood contracts that ask for just ridiculous things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they're no different. You know, they'll put things in there like, I don't want people just coming up to me. I don't want, you know, I don't want to be there before this time, and I'm not staying past this time.
Bowl of blue M&Ms.
They put outrageous things. Yeah. But you promote yourself, and we were talking about she didn't want to go overseas and promote Precious. Well, someone else mentioned in your chat, very wise person, but Precious wasn't supposed to be the movie that it became.
Exactly. And it became a
Who
monster.
thought a movie about an ugly girl would become an Academy Award winning movie?
Right.
They didn't think. They thought it was going to be, you know, it was going to make its money back, because isn't that what Hollywood does? They want to make their money back plus.
And think about this too, Truth. Think about what it did for the culture. Think about what it did for all the young black girls out there and all the little young black girls she put down and did wrong by not promoting that movie.
Well, yeah, you're right.
And she was the catalyst for that. She was the Academy Award winner. She was the key to the keystone. She was the magic behind that. Like I said, as a supporting actress, she made history. And the fact that she didn't support those little young black girls that she says that she supports, and Hattie McDaniel and all of this, if she wants to be the living Hattie McDaniel, then you don't make the same mistakes she did. You don't make the same mistakes Red Fox did. You don't make the same mistakes as the people that you tout and herald from the past as your motivation.
Well, someone just said that you promote for your next project, and you get paid on your last project. You won an Academy Award. You don't think that if Monique didn't act the way she did towards the end, where she wouldn't go and promote, you don't think the next movie didn't know that she did that?
Well, here's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to acknowledge, and that's the fact that Mo didn't like what she got paid. She got Friday money to make a Star Wars movie. You know, they grossed all that money, yet and still she only got pennies compared to what an Academy Award winning actress would win. You know, like the Hunger Games bitch, or the any of those white girls, Jennifer Jason Leigh, any of them. You know, they weren't going to take, but they would take $50,000, $100,000 to promote a indie film that ends up making $100 million. They do that. They do it all the time. There's a lot of awkward little films that they're in all the time that nobody really hears about unless they go to Sundance Film Festival and such. But they're there and they're promoting it.
Now, if you win an Academy Award, you get to write that shit on everything. Every time your name is on a billboard, it's written Academy Award winning actress Monique.
Nothing better on the resume for an actress.
Yeah, you get paid for that. You're going to get paid more for that, unless you're difficult.
You just said a mouthful.
If you're difficult, they don't want to bother with it. Now, you could sit there and say, why isn't Monique getting paid? That's her manager's job.
Do you feel like her manager is qualified? I know Spook probably disagrees and says that, and then I noticed in the chat that he said that what's wrong with Sidney Hicks? And I wanted to make the point that Sidney is a toxic dude as far as sitting down negotiating with people that he's not qualified to negotiate with. I mean, I worked at a credit card company, sat across the table from CEOs that made millions, probably worth billions. But I couldn't just go in there and just be my regular YouTube self. You know, there's a certain level of candor and decorum and professionalism that comes when you represent $1 million corporation. And she is a walking, talking $1 million corporation that's got a dime store dude running her business. That's just my opinion. And I tell Sidney that to his face. I'm not saying he's not a bad brother. I mean, not a bad guy. A good guy, rather. I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's not a good guy. I'm not saying he don't believe in God. Take care of his woman. But still, he doesn't have any more business representing her in a contract than S.C. Berry has representing somebody in court.
No, I have to agree there. But again, someone just said he's defending his wife. Well, okay, you're defending your wife, but if you had a manager, would he be trying to get the most money you can? He wouldn't be trying to defend you. He'd be trying to get the most money he can because he gets paid off of that.
Right, and he's feeding into her strife and putting that battery in her back and winding her up so that when she does go out there and negotiate, she's out here on this soapbox about paying the next sister and what about my sisters and all this other shit. If she wants to help her sister, she can get the bag and then open up her own production studio and help all the sisters she wants. Do a reality show, get 6 hungry comedians and give one of them the shot. I mean, there's a lot of ways she can do it. Like I say, she ain't got to pay Sidney. I'll take a whole lot less.
Well, maybe Mo did
There's
and
a,
again,
there. I mean,
it's all
Netflix
about
is shitting money right now, even though they just took a big
Yeah,
billion-dollar hit.
Netflix will pay you. But again, Netflix, the way they pay is I guess there's a group that goes out and looks at your net worth as far as viewership. And when they looked at Mo, they said, will people buy our subscription? Because it's not about whether the people that have subscriptions will watch you.
That's money.
It's whether will people buy a subscription and keep a subscription because you're there.
Exactly.
Netflix is spending millions of dollars to secure like sitcoms and series that gets people to buy subscriptions because it's the only place it's going to be.
Right.
If Netflix was going to pay Monique, would people say, well, I can only see Monique on Netflix, I'm going to keep my subscription to Netflix? And if the answer is no, then they're not going to pay you all that money.
If your YouTube channel is only hitting average 3,000 views after a month, Netflix ain't gonna give you no 10 or 15, 20 million dollars. I'm sorry, because your own people, your own 69,000 subscribers will go to the Comedy Hype channel a million deep to listen to you talk, but they won't go to your own channel to listen to you talk once a week, twice a week.
Exactly.
They're not checking
You
for
don't think
exercise
Netflix
shows.
is-
She's not telling jokes.
But Netflix is looking at all that. I mean, it's just like a job. You don't think a job isn't looking at your Facebook, at your Instagram, and things like that? Same thing with Hollywood. They're watching all the social media. I mean, damn, they're paying YouTubers millions of dollars because of views.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see it every day. These young kids, 21, 22 years old, getting paid millions because of their YouTube channel. Now they do some stupid stuff.
Playing video
But
games,
people
unboxing shit, that mukbang stupid shit where they sit there and smack while they're eating fucking food. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That shit bothers me.
Hey, I watch those. That chick gets like 1 million views to eat a thing of salad and crunch it. Something. I'm doing something wrong because I can't get that many views. Maybe I'll start eating cucumbers or something.
Man, I don't know if it's a sexual fetish thing or if it's just an internet thing, but the mukbang shit, I'm just not feeling it. I hate when a
You're right,
person
but
smacks
they look-
anyway.
But they look at all of this. See, years ago, we didn't have all the outlets that we can look at now. Years ago, a box office is all they had. Okay, the Nelson ratings was all they had. Now, they have Facebook, Instagram, Periscope. They have everything, all these things that they can Snapchat, all these things that they look at before they even sit down and ask you, how much money do you want to make?
And then they also say, well, hey, can we check your resume? And I remember one interview specifically where Mo said, well, they don't ask her for her resume. Well, they didn't ask him for his resume. And I'm like, bullshit. When's the last time you just went and killed it in a house with about 500 people? You know, when's the last time you went to Baltimore and did a welcome home? Or went to Atlanta or went to Texas, you know, Houston, you know, these big black markets and sold out, and people were going on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram saying, Monique killed it tonight. Awesome show. Everybody should see this. Get that buzz generating. The only buzz she generates is when she gets on here to bitch about Steve Harvey and Lee Daniels. Otherwise, people are not checking for Mo like that. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
Again, Lee Daniels is a director. Why is she bitching about him?
Yeah, because Last Christmas was a while back.
He wouldn't give in. Yeah, I'm just saying he wouldn't give in to what she wanted.
Daddy feels like he should have a private car and goes in the office and sits there and has his back and forth, and Lee has to say, no, you can't have a private car. No, you can't fly back home. We're not giving you all this extra per diem. You know, we need you here at such and such a time, and we're not going to negotiate that. Everybody else is falling in line. Why can't Mo? Next thing you know, he storms out of the office, writes a letter, goes on his blog, and talks shit about Lee Daniels. I'm like, whoa. And that was from almost Christmas or whatever it was.
Yeah. I demand. And you know why? And you could go back, and I hope someone does go back. Take a look at her before she won that Oscar. I don't think she was this difficult before she won that Oscar. Okay? She didn't have a problem traveling around the country doing stand-up. Okay?
That's a good
None
point.
of them did.
That's
they
a good
all
point,
have
Truth.
to put their time in. You have to put your time in. Okay? If you don't, I mean, you think these actors, you think Will Smith just walked on a set one day and demanded $20 million and they gave it to him?
Hell no. That's not even how the game is played. But you know what? Will Smith doesn't have Jada out there negotiating his offers. Even though I think Jada might be hell. She might even be able to negotiate for him. But for the most part, Will Smith does not have Jada out there negotiating his salary for him. I'm sorry.
But you also look back, they made their money. You know, they hit that mark where they could do anything they want. Anything. They could walk in and say, I'll take that part, and they'll give it to them. There's a time for all these guys. Steve Harvey, too. There was a time he could walk in, you know, when he was hitting everything, he could walk in and say, I'll take that show, and they'll just give it to him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they back off.
But that also brings up the point, though, Truth. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. Everybody has a beginning, middle, and end to their hotness. And her hotness just happened to end right when it began because she didn't nurture it. You know, she had a big hot flame, and instead of feeding it, she sat there and boasted in its glory. And then when it went out, it's like, hey, light my fire. It ain't that easy, baby.
Well, yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. You go for all of it. You work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day if you have to, because you never know when that flame is going out. I mean, the perfect example, Drew Carey. Remember, Drew Carey was on everything.
Yes.
He was hosting shows. He was on shows. He was showing up on shows that he wasn't even supposed to be on. And then all of a sudden, his light just dimmered.
He didn't do anything wrong.
He still got Prices Right? I think that's all he's got left.
Yeah, but he didn't fuck up. He didn't molest kids. He didn't beat his wife. He didn't wreck his car in an alcoholic tirade. You know, he just fade. Just, you know, you get a little tired of dude. You know, you just see him on everything and just goes its natural course.
Again, what do you hear? What you heard about Steve Harvey was he's on too many shows. I'm getting tired of him.
And it came to a natural end. And they need somebody younger, hotter.
Exactly. Cheaper. Okay, when you get to that end of that contract, where now I'm at my 5-year mark, I want $20 million. They'll go, hey, you know, people are starting to say they're getting tired of you. I think we're going to go in a different direction. I don't think Mo ever got to that. I mean, I think the Academy Award kind of boosted her up where she could demand more money.
Right, but again, she wanted it all at one time. She got the bag. Like I say, she got her Friday moment, but she wanted Friday after next money.
Well, how many? You know, let's talk about Friday. That movie right there. You know how many people passed that movie up?
Now they're kicking
There was
themselves
a
in the
lot
ass.
of black stars that passed that movie right by. That said no, I'm not doing it for that money. And you look at the stars that were in it. Some of them, I mean, Ice Cube, he was big. You know,
Chris Tucker went a whole nother level.
But that was before, you know, the Jackie Chan movies. That was way before. Those movies were before Jackie Chan, right?
Right. If he hadn't have done Friday, he might not even have done that.
He might not have got that. So when they took the Friday movies, they invested in themselves to give themselves exposure. Because some of those people in that movie didn't have the exposure that other people had.
Right.
Okay, and then you look at some of the movies that some of the stars were in from the early days. They played in everything they could get their hands on. Why? Because when you walk into the next movie, when you drop your resume down, you should hear a thud. It shouldn't just be a piece of paper floating down to the paper. It should be a thud when it hits the table.
And you better have some "What have you done for me lately" on there, not some shit from 10 years ago.
Exactly. And you better have some people that put some good critique on you and said, man, he was really good in this movie, he was really good in that, he did really good. Because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at the body of your work, okay? You don't get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame because you made one movie. If you did, it was a damn big movie. But you don't get it for one movie. You get it for your body of work.
And I'm sorry, but Fat Girls and the Parkers wasn't exactly 5-star fare. I'm sorry, but you know, just something to watch after school. But I don't put the Parkers up there with the Jeffersons or Living Single or Martin or even Good Times. If I had to put the Parkers on a list of top 25 shows, I don't even think it would make it. Maybe top 50, but not top 20.
I mean, I don't even think it's in syndication anymore.
I don't see it anywhere, and I mean, I even got the Antenna TV, got TV One and Fire Stick and all this other stuff. I haven't seen the Partners in years.
It's probably playing in India somewhere or something like that, but I'm just saying, it's not on the circuit. I mean, and there's channels that are just basically nothing but old sitcoms, and I don't see it in that lineup either.
That is true. That is true. The
And
Monique Show either.
What are you doing now? What did you do yesterday? Do the people know who you are today?
No, she's using a Sony Handycam that she got from the pawn shop, little $80 camera, to shoot these guerrilla YouTube videos with her husband and with her trainer, to sit there where she needs to get that hair dyed, looking like a skunk with that damn what do you call it, the ponytail or whatever it is. I mean, she's looking bad. I mean, if you're gonna be a diva, be a diva. Get that shit colored in and put on a nice dress and represent yourself as an Academy Award winning actress. Every time I see Mo, she's coming on like a woman off the street. I don't see nothing about her special that says actress or talent or any of that stuff. She's just a regular ass woman talking. And that's okay that she's keeping it real, but there's also a time when keeping it real goes wrong.
Now Pixie just said that Monique deserves a star. Yes, Monique does deserve a star. You know why Monique deserves a star? She won an Academy Award. You should have a star if you win an Academy Award.
You would think. Yeah, it's almost a shoe-in type thing. But then it's like, well, what did she do after Precious? Well, a made-for-TV movie and a busted plagiarizing play, copying off a barbershop, and then off the Vegas Strip residency at the LSL or SLS Casino, whatever it is. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen her in Atlanta, haven't seen her in Birmingham, haven't seen her come down to Orlando or anywhere in the Southeast with a comedy show, and I don't know how long. I'm not saying that she's not on tour doing that. I'm just saying that she doesn't use her YouTube channel to promote it. And that's her biggest audience right now because ain't nobody checking her Instagram, ain't nobody checking her Facebook profile unless she comes out to
I
talk
think
about Steve Harvey or Lee Daniel or Oprah.
I think she missed the boat. I think if she had taken advantage of Precious and the Academy Award more, I think she wouldn't have such a rough time right now. I think she let that slip by.
Right.
Because if you notice that when you win an Academy Award, that next movie you make, it's big for you. And if you can make another big movie, you don't even need to win an Academy Award. It just has to be a good, not a blockbuster, but it has to be up there. You're on your way. I think she let that slip by her.
Even if she had made a movie with the guy that played Urkel and made Who Made the Potato Salad 2, she would still be relevant in urban markets, and you could buy her movies at the Ching Chang store, the Arab store, and she would still be in the forefront of somebody's mind for what she does, and that's making people laugh. I haven't laughed at Monique. Everything in her stand-up recently has been angry and accusatory, and it's more like just spoken word anger than it is comedy anymore.
Okay, we talked about Will Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will Smith took his money and he invested in himself. That was the difference.
Yeah.
A lot of the people, they may look at Will Smith now, but he's investing in himself. He branched out. He's doing different things other than just acting.
Yeah, you know that new Karate Kid, and for those of you that haven't seen it yet, there's a Karate Kid sequel, not the Jaden Smith version, but the OG Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio and those guys. It's called Cobra Kai, and it's a new a new YouTube series, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And guess who's one of the executive producers? Will Smith, along with his oldest son.
I mean, you invest in yourself, and you know who doesn't invest in themselves? The drunks and the drug addicts. They take their money, they make their movies, and they spend all their money in hopes that a new movie will come along. And then 10 or 15 years later, they find them OD'd somewhere.
Kind of like Tyrese is kind of on the road to that now, which I don't want to see that, but I kind of see that happening, and the way The Rock and them treated him on this last Fast and Furious franchise, not even a cameo. Yeah, and then he's on there making those cuckoo videos, them gorilla videos, on his little handy cam or his cell phone, while he's first bragging about the shit he has in his house, and he's crying, breaking down like a mental patient. Oh man, that shit is just too weird for me. But I see his star dimming as well.
Well, I mean, didn't he get phased out of the Fast and the Furious?
Like I said, he had his R&B thing, and he was hot for a minute, but now, dark-skinned guys aren't hot. Now it's all about the light-skinned cats. Drake and, Elder Barge had his time, and the next thing you know, Black Ty and them come along. They switch up, and he's just not hot right now. I'm sorry. And the career's wax and wane. He might have to sell that big-ass Megatron statue he's got. that he's got at his compound. I think the brother would be all right if he lived within his means. But again, if you're not getting that Fast and Furious money constantly. Floyd Money Mayweather, another one. And I'm going to wrap this up about 1:30, but I'm enjoying this chat, so I might go a little longer. But it's about 5 minutes until 1:30 Eastern time. Welcome everybody in the chat. I'm sorry I haven't checked in with you since I've been taking calls, but I love every one of you, so chalk it up to my head, not my heart. We're on the line right now with The Truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. And if you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe. But yeah, everybody has their moment in the light and everything. But Truth, I want you to take the last few minutes here and speak your mind, whatever you're feeling, or if you want to shout out any of the regulators, your own channel, or if you got anything you want to say, the floor is all yours, bro.
Well, I see you down there in Private Eye, Riverbend, my cousin. I mean, as far as Monique goes, Monique is pretty much writing her own destiny right now. She could come back from this if she really wanted to. But like I've been saying all night, Hollywood is a job. You get in line to get a paycheck. You get in line to get a job. Okay? And very few people in Hollywood get a phone call to say, hey, I got a part for you. No, their agents go, hey, this thing just came across my desk. I want you to go over there and read for it. There's even Brad Pitt, has to read for parts.
Exactly.
It's all about the fit. And that's what Hollywood is. It's about the fit. Do you fit it? Bernie Mac had to read for Ocean's 11. I don't even think, if you look at it, that's a remake. And he had to read for that part. There's very few stars that can walk in a room and they just give you the part.
That's true. Well, then I
really enjoyed getting the time tonight to pretty much talk with you and talk with your group that probably doesn't know who I am.
Well, guys, if you don't know who he is, I want you to subscribe to The Truth. He's got an awesome channel, and he's just like me. He's a truth seeker who likes to expose those dark corners that are out there and bring truth and light to certain situations. And when it comes to Essie Berry, if you don't know who she is, once you check out Riverbend, Private Iris, The Truth, Spook TV Channel 7, you'll really be enlightened. So thank you. Thank you for the Regulator family for showing so much love. Like I say, if it wasn't for you and Spook and Riverbend and Iris, Darling Red and all the other regulators, like I say, my chat wouldn't be the same. And I will start chopping it up with Spook again. Like I say, let bygones be bygones, water under the bridge. Like I say, I don't think I'm better or superior to anyone. I'd rather walk alongside you. I don't have to walk in front of you or behind you.
Hey, I still want to do the global warming.
Oh, yeah, I was going to mention that, too. I want to collaborate with Truth on the global warming issue. I kind of touched on it on my live before last, I believe, before I started talking about the sex stuff. We were talking about some real issues affecting the planet, and Truth gave me some awesome videos about global warming and some things that I wasn't even aware of. There's a big trash heap that's out there floating in the Pacific Ocean right now. I believe either from the last Japanese tsunami or whatever, and it's huge, like acres and acres big of nothing but trash.
There's seven huge trash islands that are floating around every ocean right now.
And I've been doing my research too, Truth, and just today, I ran across an article that Asia is giving us back our recycled plastics. They would buy it by the ton. All the trash, garbage ass plastic that you think is being recycled by your local community, it's actually not. It's being put on trucks and ships and Connex boxes and being sent to poor portions of China and Southeast Asia. But just today, it was announced that they're sending that shit back to Canada and the United States. All that junk, poison, plastic, all the trash that they can't recycle, it's coming back. And what are we going to do with it? I want to bring up that too when we talk about global warming and trash islands and some of the other things that are affecting our climate, especially the point you brought up about the previous generations, our grandparents and our great-grandparents and their global footprint.
Yes, are we paying for our ancestors? Are we paying for our great-great-grandparents right now? That's my question. How many people think we're paying for our great-great-great-grandparents? And, I mean, there's no fault to them. They were living their life, and they were making their money the best they can. But is that what's
there are so many layers to this, and I'm glad you brought that up, Truth. I can't wait to discuss it because when I look at us as black people, I don't see that our footprint would have been as impactful had it not been for like the Industrial Revolution and such. But had we stayed rural and grown our own crops and such like we were raised to, I don't think we would have the footprint now. But if you look at white industrial uh, um, places with high wages and stuff like Detroit, when they started the steel mills in Pennsylvania, they pumped millions of tons of ash and pollution into the air and wouldn't hire one black man to work for them. So I see the socio and political aspects of global warming and the pollution thing. And like I say, there's layers to it, and I don't think that black people are as um, liable for the damage that was caused. But our forefathers and ancestors did have a part to play in it. We drive cars, we build homes, and we're just as guilty. We use chlorofluorocarbons. We don't recycle or anything. So, like I say, we do have our own responsibility, but I do put the onus on the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the people that enjoyed the biggest boom of the Industrial Revolution. But again, we're going to have fun with that topic. Anybody that's interested, me and Truth are going to continue to do our research and collaborate, and hopefully bring that to you real soon. All right,
All
man.
right, Slide. Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it. I had a good chat.
Anytime.
I was wanting to call in, but I was waiting my turn.
Well, I was hoping Spook would call in on the chat line so that you both could be on, but he was pretty excited about calling in. I wanted to let him express himself, so I'm always happy to do that. And like I say, we walk and chew gum at the same time over here. But God bless you, Truth, and I look forward to working with you real soon, brother. Take care.
All right, good night.
Good night. All right, guys, we're about to go ahead and wrap it up. It is 1:36 Eastern Time. Again, thank you to everybody who's still hanging in here. Iori666, good to see you. We hooked up on a channel one time called Opinion But Facts. Like I said, I don't forget. Ian Lee, thank you for your support. Black Pixie, Mr. Rock Music, all the regulators, you know who you are. Private Iris, River Bend. See who else we got in here. Vanetta Epps. Always nice to see your old face. Glad to have you in. So again, if I miss anybody in the chat, any shout outs, I apologize. You got to come in early, so that way you get your shout out and get to have your voice heard, or you can always call in as well. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Again, I want to say God bless everyone. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope Yahweh watches over you and your families. And I wish you nothing but productivity and success. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys again real soon. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next live.